The expo markers are only in your office, right?
I got one.
Yes, over here.
Blue black.
It doesn't matter. Oh, whatever's good. So these are like gonna represent the years that I've been cutting, and I just want to tell you guys a little bit about those years and how they went, um, just so you guys can understand like how it goes and what you guys are gonna be in for, because um, it's not like it's it's not gonna be like what you see me doing right away. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna be um, you're not gonna be able to charge these prices right away and be this busy like right away. So I feel like if we understand um, what we're about to go through and what it's gonna take, like I feel like it's a lot easier to enjoy the journey, you know, because if we expect to do what somebody that's been doing for 10 plus years, you know, right away, like we're gonna get frustrated. You know, if we expect our haircuts to look like somebody that's been cutting for 10 years when we just started cutting a couple months ago, we're gonna get frustrated. You know, like it's important to understand like where you're at in your journey and like accept it, be okay with it, and just like embrace it. You know what I mean? Because you're not gonna be able to go from year one to year 10 like in a year. Like it just doesn't work like that. Like it takes time. Like it's gonna take a lot of hours, a lot of practice, you know, a lot of classes, a lot of like trial and error, and like a lot of failing. But I feel like if you, I feel like if you start off on the right track and you have a good mindset and you know, you have some drive, I feel like you could probably cut this in half. You know, um, but it took me 10 years to get to what I'm doing right now because the first 5 years of me cutting hair, like I wasn't even taking this thing seriously. You know, I was really young and I just, my focus was on a whole lot of other things, you know, and I was, I was decent. I was pretty good at this, you know, those first 5 years, but I wasn't as good as I am now. And I didn't have the clientele that I have now. I wasn't charging what I charge now, you know. Um, but like 5 years in, started taking it serious, and it like my job like took a whole different direction, you know, and it happened quick. You know what I mean? And I started charging prices that I did not think I would be able to charge, and I would like I used to joke about, you know, charging $100 for a haircut, and like now it's happening all the time. So I do think that you can like shorten up this 10-year period if you are focused and you take it seriously and like you're invested, you know. Because if you're not invested in like every way possible, it's gonna take you a lot longer to get there, you know. Um, and what I mean by that is like being invested, like You got to invest in your craft by buying good tools and um, spending the money on the classes and trying to learn how to be better like every day, all the time. Um, we're doing a comb over. Yeah, you okay with the comb over? And then how's the length on the top? Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay. A little bit. Okay. Maybe just more so off the back.
Yeah.
And then okay, so right now I'm doing the consultation, and let me talk about the consultation real quick because I feel like some of us that are new to this don't really know how to do correct consultation, and some people don't like ask enough questions. And then whenever I jump into somebody's haircut that's like that they're halfway through, they don't even know like what what they're getting on top, or they don't even know what the customer is getting on the side, but they're halfway through the haircut. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. Like if you're halfway through the haircut, you should already know what they want off the top, what they want off the sides. Um, if they want their fade low, high, bald, short, not too short, whatever it is, like we have to know all these details before I even start cutting anything on their head. And I see it happen all the time where dude is halfway through the haircut and he's like, oh, I don't even know what kind of hairdo he's gonna get on the top. I'm like, so you don't know if he's gonna comb it back, forward, to the side, or nothing? No. I'm like, man, come on, man, you can't be cutting people unless you know what they want. Like it just makes sense. So the first thing I asked him is, what are we doing? What kind of hairstyle are we doing? A comb over or whatever, right? We talked about it a couple of days ago. I told him that I want to do a comb over on him. He said, cool. So the first thing I did was verify the style and how he's gonna comb his hair. All right. So he's gonna comb it to the side. And then I asked him, how does he feel about the length? Okay. And he said, nah, it's not bad. Is that maybe just like a little trim or something? And then I suggested, well, what do you think about maybe just trimming the back end and leaving the length in the front? Okay, that's cool. That works. All right. Because a lot of times, whenever they like the length, but something about it is kind of like off, a lot of times it's going to be this back area right here. Okay. So the DFS formula is going to let us shorten this up without touching the styling portion of the hair, which is in front of the apex. Okay. And then after that question, so far I asked them what kind of style we're gonna do, and then after that I asked them how much are we gonna take off, right? How much are we gonna cut, and figured that out. Okay, so now I gotta ask him what we're gonna do with the sides. All right. If he was gonna get a taper, are you gonna get a taper or are you gonna get a fade? Fade. Okay. Here, you need this. Um, so if he was gonna get a taper, I would have to ask him two different things. How short are we gonna go above the ears, which is on the side of your head and on the back of your head? How short are we gonna go there? And then how are we gonna do the taper? Are we gonna do a low taper, regular taper? Do you want it bald? Do you want it light? You know, it's got to be all those questions because we can't just give somebody a taper and not cut anything off the side of the head, or wait till later to cut the sides. Because if I give them a bald taper on the side and the back, and then I trim everything down on the sides, I'm gonna have to redo my fade. You know what I'm saying? So it's just gonna create more work for me. So since he wants a fade, now I'm only gonna ask him what, three different things: low, medium, or high, right? And then how short do you want to go on the side? Do you want to go all the way down to the skin, or do you want to bring it down to like a 1, a 2, whatever he wants to do, right? 0 on the side, mid fade, mid fade. Okay, all right. I already know how he likes his haircut, so that's why I already, I'm guessing already, that he's gonna get a mid fade. All right. So again, I like this comb right here because I could see. Put your chin all the way down, please. I could see those divisions in the hair. I could see like these kind of like they're almost like parts, like sections already. And I just gotta pick one of them that's gonna travel to the corner of his lining. And I can see this one right here is traveling right there to where the corner of his forehead is. And I can even just like split it with my fingers. And I don't even have to even. And then all of this gets combed forward or inward. And it's almost like right there on the money. Ajá. ¿Cómo, cómo? Yeah, yeah. En vez de los de metal. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can do that. I got you. Um, so I'm gonna use the walls to do Randy's haircut today, so that way you guys can keep track of what I'm doing and understand like what's going on. With metal guards on them. What's up, bro? You got all of them right there? Okay. Are these better than those, or are they the same? Randy, which ones are good? Or are they both the same shit? You like these better? All right, I'm gonna use these metal ones, these with the clip on it. Thank you. Yeah, me falta el número 4. Ok, gracias. Aquí está. Ya lo encontré, bro. Thank you. Thank you. I never use these guards, so that's why I had to dig them out of the.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm just gonna connect the colic to this part over here. Okay, and I can already see like which hair is going down and which hair is going up. So that's exactly where I'm gonna part it, is right there. Everybody see how I did that? Okay, kind of got like a round U shape right here, and then it kind of straightens out. I'm gonna move this line a little over to the right because I feel like the roots are kind of like lifting up a little bit. I want to make sure that I follow the growth pattern.
This is a real like important step. It's like setting the foundation of the haircut, how it's gonna lay, how it's gonna sit. So really focus on it and don't try to rush through it. If you comb through it and it still looks like it's off, hair's bending, do it again. You don't have to get it in one or two swipes. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
As you get better, you will, but sometimes when you're first starting off, it's gonna take a while to actually see where it's at, right?
Taper your chin all the way up. Everybody see how that looks? And it's not like one continuous like line all the way through. It kind of like changes a little bit right here, right? Because of the growth pattern. All right. So from the colic to the right, I was able to go from this point that way because all these hairs were growing down. But I had to drop my level down to here because all these hairs right here were going up on his colic. Okay. So I had to do that in order to follow his growth pattern. So it's not always going to be a perfect U that's connected all the way through. Like sometimes the levels are going to change at the colic. That's usually where it happens, is right at the colic. And this line has to be like a nice clean line. It shouldn't be jagged or wavy or anything like that. It should be nice and clean, and it's gonna bend obviously right here like a U, but it shouldn't be like doing this all the way through. You know what I'm saying? It should be nice and smooth. So now I'm gonna set my line for a mid fade, and I'm gonna drop the line just a little bit towards the back of the head, so that way I can leave him a little bit of hair right here in this top area right here. I'm gonna have to do it from back here so everybody can see it. All right.
Anybody got any questions so far? Just on the setting it up. Anybody struggle with anything during those steps?
When I first marked my line, I didn't like how low it was, so I had to bring it up a little bit higher because I'm imagining where my number 3 is going to be at. I'm imagining where my 0 is going to be at. And if that is not lining up where I want it to line up for this kind of fade, then I need to move my line so I can make sure that my fade lands where it's supposed to land, because this is going to mark where my 3 is going to be. Yeah, yeah. Number 3 is always going to blend right into that. So I see a lot of students like wanting to like pull this line all the way down to the side of the head, and sometimes we can't afford to do that because our fade needs to be higher than that. Okay, so whenever I did this area right here, I'm not really pulling down too far from that part. Like I'm sticking my fingers in there pretty quick. I'm not coming too far down the head. If I come too far down the head, it's gonna look like I gave him like a low fade or something. A lot of the times on the mid fade, this is our forehead right here, right? This is the length of our forehead right here. Okay. And a lot of times on a mid fade, our 3 comes up to about the top of that corner, and it comes straight back this way, right? On a little bit of an angle. And our 0 usually comes to the corner of our sideburn right here, right? Which is the bottom of the square. and usually our fade lands somewhere like this, right? So if I know that my fade needs to be about right here, I know that my 3 needs to be about right there, so that means that my DFS line needs to be about right there. And that's super fucking high. But it's okay because that's how it has to be in order for this haircut to look the way it needs to look. If I come down any lower with my DFS line, now it's going to look like a low fade, right? So sometimes we have to go super high with our DFS line so it could look like a mid fade or a high fade, okay? We can't leave a bunch of hair on the side of the head if they want it mid or high. Um, so back to the 10 years of cutting hair. Um, that first year that I was cutting at the house, and I was just cutting all my friends. You know, every chance I could get. Um, I'd even like have my backpack with my clippers in it, and then whenever we be like out and about, like I would always have them in the car or in somebody's car. Oh, you need a haircut? Oh, I got you. Let me just go to the car. Boom, bust it out. Like, oh, how much? I don't even worry about it. I got you. Let me just. I'm trying to practice. I'm trying to get in the shop. You know, and I'm over here giving out free haircuts left and right anywhere I'm at, and I feel like that's where you guys are at right now. You know, you guys are just doing free haircuts because you're not profiting off of the haircuts you're doing in school, but it's the chance for you to learn how to cut and learn the skill and um, start picking up the craft. Because when you're at home cutting hair, like it's not the same. Um, you really like not really cutting hair that good at all, and you're probably doing a lot of things wrong. And then once you get into the shop, you realize like, oh shit, like I thought I was good, but man, this guy is, whew, you know. And then you start realize real quick, you're like, okay, I see exactly where I'm at, and I have a lot to learn, you know. So then you start to learn off of the guys that you're around in the shop, and you start to, you know, keep game, and you see the techniques and all that, and you start to use them yourself and start figuring things out. And that first year that I was cutting, it was just me cutting hair at the house, and I wasn't really around any other barbers that knew what they were doing. And once I did get into a shop, I learned real quick that I was trash, and I had a lot to work on. Um, and once I got into the shop, that's when I really started to, you know, get some type of skills. Before that, it was I was just figuring out how to like hold the clipper and erase a line and some basic shit. You know, like it wasn't even anything good or anything to be proud of yet. And then after about like a year at the shop, I started to be able to build like a little bit of a clientele, and I was actually, you know, cutting a few heads every day, and you know, I had a little bit of motion in my chair. But that first year at the shop, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clientele, and all the customers that walked in there knew it because I was the new guy. And I was like 17 years old, you know, just got off the school bus and walked into the shop type of thing. And all these old school guys are looking at me like, hell no, I'm not letting you cut my shit. I'm gonna get my hair cut with him. So I'd be sitting around like doing nothing, you know, all day long, just watching everybody else cut hair. But I was always standing next to somebody that knew what they were doing. Always next to like a veteran. Um, can I see that towel? All the time. I would ask them questions all the time. And then I would also have them like check my work. So like when I would be lucky enough to get a haircut in my chair, I would ask them while when I was finished. I would ask them like, "Hey man, like how does it look? Can you check the lineup? Does it look straight or check the fade?" And I spin them around real quick. Like, what do you think? Where does it need some work? And then they'll start to tear apart my haircut. You need to fix this. You need to fix that. What the hell is this? Like what are you doing over here? Like, and they start pointing out everything that's wrong. and that's how I started to like fix my haircuts, and I started working on it and started getting a little bit better. Oh wow, I need to put that one away. Get that thing away from me. All right, so now I'm gonna use my number 3 up to that line that I just set with my scissors. And right now I just towel dried the side of his head that I'm about to cut with the clippers. And before I do that, I'm gonna use the blow dryer and dry that same area. And when I do this, it's gonna allow me to see where I need to go up to, because you can clearly see like all this wet hair, and you can see all this dry hair, and you can see that little short point in between. So I know exactly where I gotta go. It's super clear to me like how high I need to go with my 3. So this is where I'm at. I'm gonna be up all the way up here with it. Same thing on this side. And you see how I'm using my chair to spin him around instead of like running around in circles around him? I feel like a lot of people forget that the chair spins, and we need to use that to our advantage. That's what it's there for. Okay, now that I did that, I'm gonna go ahead and knock down some of the hair on the side of the head, so that way when I set my guidelines in right now, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to do that. Um, Whenever you have somebody in your chair that has a lot of hair on the side of their head, I like to debulk it all with that 3 before I set my guidelines, because if you don't, it makes it a lot more difficult to set the guidelines or to see the guidelines. Because what happens is you make your line, but you have all this hair that's hanging over the line, so you can't see the line anymore. So you're gonna think you're gonna have to go higher or something, and you really just need to debulk it first. So now I'm gonna set my 0 on the side of his head, and that is gonna look like it's gonna look something like this right here. I'm gonna have that line going probably about right there. Okay, maybe I'm gonna drop it just a little bit, but it's gonna be somewhere about right there. Bring your head to the side a little bit. Okay, now that I marked both sides of the head, I'm gonna check my work in my mirror. And right now I feel like this angle on this side is angled up a little bit more than this side. So I'm gonna just change the angle of my line over here. Now that looks even on both sides. Because I felt like one side was like this and the other side was like this. Okay, so now I have both sides angled the same on both sides, and they're both gonna drop as it goes towards the back. Okay, and the drop isn't crazy; it's just a little bit. All right. So now I'm gonna connect the two lines on the back of the head, and I'm always better off starting low than trying to go like make it perfect. You know, the first time I'm trying to guess. So I'm gonna keep it low down here, work my way over to the right, come back to the middle, work my way over to the left. And then I'm gonna check my work in my mirror, and that looks pretty consistent all the way through. It doesn't look like this bend is like it doesn't look like I have like a lump on this side or on this side. It's just like one consistent U shape. You know what I mean? Like I don't have anything weird going on this side. I don't have anything weird going on this side. It's just nice and smooth all the way through. So now I can go ahead and set my number one because I already set my three earlier whenever I went up to my DFS line. So I don't have to worry about the three. So I feel like once you like get into a barbershop, like the first like 2 or 3 years, probably like the first 2 years since you guys are in the barbershop where like you guys have people to learn from, and like you guys are like getting the steps and everything like that. Like I feel like it's gonna fast track a lot of the stuff. So I feel like that first year to 2 years, it's just really trying to perfect your craft and really just trying to get better and better at everything that you're not good at. You know what I mean? And then once you do that, like you could start building a good clientele and like really generating some good money because those first years, like I was making like I don't know, probably like three, four, five, maybe $600 a week. You know, if I was lucky, and there'd be some days where I wouldn't make shit. You know, there'd be some weeks where I would have just enough to pay the booth rent because like nobody wanted to get a haircut with me because I was the new guy at the shop and I was like really young and everybody was like, hell no, I'm not getting a haircut with you, bro. Like you look like you just fucking walked out of class. You know, like nah, I'm cool. You know, so um, I feel like the most important part of those years was just like learning how to cut and trying to figure it all out. And then after that, um, I ended up at Razors, and at Razors, that's when I started making some decent money, and I started getting some good traffic because I landed in a shop that had a lot of clients. You know, like I had clientele like down the block, literally. Like I would get, we would all the barbers like every time we would get there in the morning, there would always be a line like down the strip. You know what I'm saying? Like three, four businesses down. You have like 10, 15 people lined up right here to the door. And we walk in and it's just boom, flooded instantly. Everybody's cutting hair. You got about five, six people waiting. And then by the time we're done with this haircut, we got the rest of the waiting area filled up. So now you got about like 20 people in there waiting, staring at you while you're cutting. And like I started doing like a lot of haircuts there. I was doing like 15 haircuts minimum per day. Okay, just to give you guys an idea, right? And I'd be hearing people like talking about, oh man, I did 5 haircuts today. I'm tired. You know, like that's this you're gonna be doing a lot of haircuts whenever you start working somewhere. You know what I mean? And over there we had to do a lot of haircuts because if we didn't, we weren't gonna eat because they were taking a percentage. We were taking 30% of our haircut, so we had to do a lot of haircuts if we wanted to take home a decent check at the end of the week. You know, and that's when I really started like cutting. But that was after my first 2 to 3 years of cutting hair, and that's when I started like I was pretty decent already by that point, you know. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna mark the number 1 around the head, and for this, I'm gonna make the one. I'm gonna make the gap from the 0 to the 1 like a little bit tighter on the side of the head than on the back of the head, because you can see like how much space we have to work with from the 0 to the 3 right here, and you can see how much space we have from the 0 to the 3 over here. Okay, that gap is a lot smaller over here than it is in the back of the head. What's up, bro? So as it gets closer to the temple, that opening is going to be smaller. As it goes towards the back of the head, it's going to open up just a little bit. Or is there something that you do every now and again? I do it depending on the person in the chair and how big the forehead is. If the forehead is long and big, then I can, make it consistent even all the way through. But if I have a small forehead, then I might have to make it a little bit tighter towards the temple area. What happened? At 12 o'clock? Okay. What time is it right now?
Turn the computer on.
I'm trying to, I more think of have denser hair towards the back. So, okay. Um, with that in mind, you kind of open that up towards the back just a little bit, just to compensate for the fact that there's denser hair towards the back, so it's gonna be hard to get that all line out at the back of the head than it is on the side, on the temple area, where fading is really easy. So yes, opening that gap from the 0 to the 1 on the back of the head is gonna make your life a lot easier when it comes to fading. But I wouldn't do that for every single haircut. Okay, like I would do that for a mid fade most of the time. Um, Maybe a low fade, but probably not. This is something I would use more for like a medium fade, and it is gonna help. But when I have dense hair in my chair, I make my guideline from my gap from the 0 to the 1 wider than I would on regular hair like this. Like his hair is not super thick; it's normal. Okay, so I don't have to worry about making a huge fat guideline. But if he had like really thick hair, then I would want to open up my 0 to my 1 a little bit more than normal, and that's going to help out a lot, and it's going to make your life a lot easier, especially in the back of the head that you're talking about. But it just depends on the density of the hair. If it's thick hair, then yes, open up that guideline from the 0 to the 1. Only the 0 to the 1. The rest of the guidelines stay in the same spots. I'm looking at about how high I went on the other side with my 1, so that way I put it in the same spot. Okay.
Anybody want to drink?
No, gracias. Gracias. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So can you guys see the distance from the 0 to the 1? It's about a good inch, okay, for a mid fade. If I was doing a low fade, I might have made it a little bit tighter than that. Now that I set my guidelines, I'm gonna finish cutting the top. This is just the way I like to do it. I like to knock down the hair on the side of the head and establish my guidelines because it kind of helps get like the boring part out the way, and then also it gets rid of all the bulk on the side of the head, so that way when I go to grab my guide that I made with my DFS, um, I'm not gonna confuse the longer hair that was all grown out with the guide. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy for me to just pull down past the guide and grab some of this hair that we're gonna cut and confuse that with my guide. I don't want to do that. So once I got to year 3, that was when I got to razors. This is the name of the shop that I was at in Chicago. And then razors was a shop that I landed at when I got here. Um, and when I was working at razors, I probably ended up getting to the point where I was making about like maybe like $1,000 to like $1,500 a week over there.
Yeah, grab the window. Roll, grab some paper towels.
Paper towels. Yeah.
Probably grab that little roll right there.
Do you have a hand sanitizer in your thing? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna comb it all to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since he's gonna comb his hair over to the right, I only need to find the apex on one side of the head because it's a comb over. All right. Whenever we do a comb over, we're only going to be pulling the hair down to the guide on the side that he's going to comb it over to. So if he's combing it over to the right, I'm going to find the apex on the right half of the head, and I'm going to pull all that hair down to my guide, and then I'm going to cut everything that's hanging over my guide. Everybody see the guide underneath? Okay. All the hair that's hanging over it is going to get cut off. Okay. So pulling the hair down to the guide, find the guide by lifting up the hair with my scissors, and then I'm going to pull out until my guide is flush with my fingers, and then I'm going to cut anything that's hanging over my guide. Then I'm going to work my way over to the left and do the same thing. There's my guide. I'm going to pull out till it's flush with my fingers, and then I'm going to cut anything that's hanging over. Simple. Okay? I don't need to worry about the back because we already cut the hairs that were going towards the back. All right? Now we're cutting the hairs that are on the top of the horseshoe going forward. So all of that's going to happen on the side of his head right here. And earlier, whenever I asked him, how does he feel about the length? He said he liked it. All right. So now all I'm going to do is connect what's behind the apex to the length at the very front. Okay. And I'm going to try to preserve as much of that length as I can. So if I go all the way to the very fringe, it's going to be super short. So I'm not going to do that. And I can see that short point over here. And I can just angle my fingers down. And I can start to connect it into what he's got going on in the front. Okay. And now this half of the head over here is going to all get combed over, and we're either going to go square on the top or we're going to go triangular, depending on the length that they want to keep. Okay. A lot of times for a shorter comb over, like about this size, a lot of times I go square. But if it's like a really, really long comb over, that's when I would do a triangular type of deal. Okay. So we'll see what we're going to have to use right now. So I'm going to go triangular to keep as much length as possible. And really all I need to do to connect this short length into what we have already is I need to do something like this. Connect this short point to that short point, okay? And I could either do this, but if the hair is too short and this hurts, or it feels like it's like stressing my wrist, I can go forward like this, and I can still point cut, okay? A lot of times with the shorter length haircuts, going over the top is a little easier versus trying to like bend that wrist back. And whenever I do this, it's important that I grab a little bit of the section that I already cut so that way I can keep a consistent angle as I'm working my way forward on the head. Because not only do I have a guide in this zone of the head when I lift the hair up, I have a guide right here, but I'm also going to use that section that I just cut previously and have that as a second guide.
You need that color bowl for that single retouch. Not the Chicago since you took it.
What happened? No, no, no. You just take out of there. Yeah, you just take out of there. Do you have a comb inside of that bag? You do? Make sure you have a comb inside of each one of the bags that are for like the long hair and the chemical stuff. Okay? Time is it?
7:58. I don't know if he's gonna do this. Mike.
Do you wanna pause? You wanna go over there and do something?
Mike in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you see? No, I was just making sure that he was still like helping him. Good? Everything going good?
You wanna go over there?
Yeah, me too. Talk about.
Yeah. Any questions so far about what I'm doing on the haircut or what we're talking about, like up there on the mirror? No. Uh-huh. How much did I cut off the side? Whenever I'm marking my line, my first line around the head. Whenever I'm marking my first line around the head, or when which one? All right, man. Good luck, bro. Good luck. Get some caffeine in you. Get some caffeine. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I did a triangular shape, and I pulled the hair like down this way, and I connected from the apex to the front by pulling the hair down like this. That's a triangular shape. I could either go triangular this way, or I can go triangular down, or I could just pull out square, and that's gonna be even shorter length, or I could pull up, and it's gonna be like toward the chin, and it's gonna be even shorter. Okay, so it's either gonna be square, like your fingers straight and straight to the chest, which is square, or your fingers are going to be straight and then up, which is more like a round shape. And then you could do triangle where your fingers are angled out, or triangular like down like this. God damn. When would I know? Just depends on how long they want to leave the fringe, or the length on the top. If they want to leave it really long, I'm probably gonna have to go triangular outward or downward. No. If I pull a triangular outward, it's going to be a little bit shorter than triangular downwards. The long. Yeah, triangular down is going to be really long. Those sound like some of the same questions that I've asked you before. What would help me kind of wrap my head around the way that y'all are cutting like that is that I didn't know about elevation. Elevation is like where y'all pull down, or pull to your chest, yeah, or pull up, yeah, and what that does to the hair. And on top of that, what y'all are doing is y'all are creating shape. So the hair that y'all are cutting down to that literally is the hair that's up like this. Yeah, and we're pulling it. Like yeah, it's if you could see that hair standing straight up, y'all are creating the shape that yes, y'all want. Yes. So that's why like y'all are cutting shorter in the back of the head, and then here y'all are setting yeah, the amount. Now you understand. Yeah, but like I didn't get that. Yeah, yeah. Me neither. Me neither. When I first started doing DFS, I didn't understand that. So once that's explained, like the elevation part, then you can. That's when it becomes easier to make that decision of how much am I supposed to cut? Why am I holding it down? Why am I holding it at this angle? Because you're using your guide, or you're connecting to the back of the head, but that elevation is what helps you cut the right amount of hair. And once they've already told you how much they want to cut, that's what you're doing when you're bringing the hair down. It's just the way you're holding it is helping you cut the right amount of hair. And then once he gets done cutting the top of it, what he's doing is he's connecting both sides, chopping it, creating shape on the top. By either going straight or just doing the comb over like this. And I've also been doing maybe a round shape too. Or doing the round shape when they have like shorter hair, because you're contouring to the head. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna take some like repetition of you actually doing it, and once you do it a few times, you're gonna understand why you're doing what you're doing and what it's gonna do to the haircut, and you're gonna get it. But in the beginning, it's gonna be a little confusing. But to answer your question, it's just gonna be you have to figure out how you have to pull your fingers out or down in order to trim the desired amount that they want. So if they want an inch and you're pulling square to your chest, but you see like 2 or 3 inches hanging off that you're about to cut, that's the wrong elevation, right? So you might have to pull triangular out this way. And if you still have a lot of hair hanging out and you're going to cut too much, then you might have to go down. And you got to figure out which shape you need to use in order to trim however much they want to trim. You know what I mean? Everything under control? Yeah.
It's looking pretty good. I'm thinking about leaving it like this. Yeah. it up, it looks like that.
Yeah, because I was he's a question that I was asking for,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just telling him that putting it down is that creating shape. It's just that you can't see the hair goes laying down, but if you stand it up, it's creating that same shape that you would do. You make that strip.
Like a mohawk strip, yeah.
Same exact process. Long run.
And now when you make this connection on top, you don't grab any other guides or like the traveling guide. You're using what is the guide?
So my guide is always going to be right here in this zone, right here. This is where my guide is going to be at. And I already cut that area, so now I can move a little bit more forward. Now I'm going to connect this to that. And as I get more towards the front, I should be cutting less off, because whenever I was doing from the apex forward and I was doing my triangular shape down, I noticed that I wasn't really cutting that much off of the very front. Okay, everything looks good. When I did the apex, behind the apex, I just pulled straight out to my chest and I didn't pull up. If I would have pulled up, it would have been more for like a shorter length haircut. But since this haircut has a decent amount of hair on it, I'm gonna pull to the chest. Okay, that's why I made that decision. If he was going really short, like I don't know, nobody here has really short hair. Maybe like Stuart, he was doing something like that, then I would elevate to the chin from behind the apex and also in front of the apex too, to get a short length haircut like that. But since we're gonna leave some hair and everything, I don't want to go too short back here in this area. And if I elevate up, this guide back here is gonna get real short back behind the apex.
Everybody get that? Anytime you elevate up, you're connecting to the top, it's going to be shorter because the hair is not traveling as far. But when you pull it down and leave it length, there's going to be
pass that around.
Right.
Right now, I just sprayed a little bit of blow dry spray. It's a heat protector, and it also is going to help create some volume in the hair for me. So it just kind of makes the blow drying process a little bit easier. Helps me achieve the look that I want a lot faster. It's kind of like a shortcut. And it's almost like you have like some product in the hair, kind of. It helps hold it a little bit. Yeah, it's like what do they call that? A base product.
Yeah.
It's a base product.
Condos are just a little more high dollar.
You know what I'm saying?
Mine you get for like $8, $10.
And I've used leave-in conditioners and I've used the Ruzel stuff, but when it comes to like creating volume, I really like this one because I feel like it helps me just like get that lift and get that hair like nice and fluffy on the top. So look, I haven't even used a brush or anything yet, and you could already see that hair standing up. That's without even touching it with the brush. Finally, right?
I'm gonna make you wait too much.
Right now I'm doing it with hot air. I got it on full blast. I got it on max air, max heat, just to push the hair in the direction that I want it to go, and get this little lift right here and kind of pushing it back. I'm not trying to make his blow dry perfect yet because I still have to do a whole fade on him. Okay, so I'm not really worried about making the top too pretty right now. All right. So now we're gonna go through our steps from the 1 down to the 0. Okay. And I'm gonna be using my half guard. And our first step is gonna be our half guard halfway open. And I'm gonna do that just a little bit below the number 1 line. Does anybody have a ring light that's on a stand? You gotta. Oh no, nah, it's all good. If it's not already on the stand, then it'll be too much. It'll be too much work. Nah, nah. I don't want to. I don't want to grab his stuff without asking him. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. ¿Ah? ¿Tienes una light pero la que tiene las patitas? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. ¿Sí lo puedes traer? Sí, por favor. Yeah. I need a light because on this side, like, it gets really dark because there's so much light coming from the other side that it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing. So with the half guard halfway open, I'm gonna go just a little bit below that number 1 line, and I'm almost touching it. Okay, now I'm gonna do my half guard closed, just a little bit below that. Just great. See what you did, Randy? All right. All right. So now we have our no guard halfway open, a little bit below what I just did with my half guard. All right. Now I got my no guard closed. And the very, very bottom line is going to come off with my trimmer. Thank you very much. So once you get customers that are a little older, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get the little.
It's not even older. It's like if you have hair in the ear, you get it. It doesn't matter how old they are. I've seen customers 23 years old with hair in their ear.
Anyway,
I'm only 25, bro.
you know what I'm saying? Struck a nerve. All right.
Because he always say it. When, and I know he just waits the whole time to say it. When's he in
I had to. I always like to get the hair and the ears. Okay, some people are gonna have hair like on this part of their ear, and some people are gonna have hair right here. And if they got really hairy ears, they're gonna have it like even up here on the top. And sometimes that shit will even connect like all the way through, and it's just like fucking like earmuffs, damn near. You know, like it's just
And that's
all
a whole
over
nother
this thing.
service.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a whole
That's like
nother.
another
You
haircut.
can charge
You know.
extra for that. Yeah, you charge
Yeah.
extra for that.
So we see how that one blended down to that zero with those 4 steps, 5 steps really, because we have to add the trimmer to the very bottom.
Mike, do me a favor. Can you position this camera to get like a good angle?
Oh yes.
Maybe like in the back of this thing, or I don't know, just find something. Thank you.
Perfect.
No,
So everybody remember where that zero line was at, or that trimmer line was at? No.
it doesn't have to be too far back. All of it. It could be like half.
All right. So we can go over to this side, and we can see where the line was at. Okay. That's about where my line is going to be at on this side, just in case we lost it. So we're somewhere about right here. So I know that I got to stay below that point with my shaver. If I go any higher than that, I'm going to make a line. Okay. So I'm going to stay a little bit below that. Remember, our line was about right here. And I'm going to draw it on there with the white pencil so you guys can like follow me. So I'm going to continue this line right here. That's about where I was at with my zero. Everybody see that? Okay. So now I'm going to make sure I stay below that with my shaver. Everybody see where I'm tapping? Tapping below that. And then, so my tapping about right here in this area. And then below that, I'm going to use both sides of my foil shaver and apply some pressure and really bald it out. All right, same thing back here behind the ear. I'm going to tap a little bit below where my zero was at. Okay, and now it's bald at the bottom. All right, so now we erase this. And you see, it worked out just right because I didn't go too high with my shaver. Okay, everybody understand how high we go with our shaver? Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna erase the number 1 line, and in order to do that, we're gonna work our way down from the 3 down to that 1. So I'm gonna jump to the 2 because we already did our 3 earlier. So now I'm gonna use my 2. I'm going almost all the way up to that number 3 line. I'm like right up on it. That was our 2 closed. Now I got my 1.5 closed. A little bit lower than that 2, just a little bit. We don't have a lot of room to work with right now from the 1 to the 3. That gap is really small. The transition happens really fast. That was a 1.5. Now I need my 1.5 or my 1 halfway open and then my 1 closed. That 1 halfway open. and then my one closed. And now I have to like imagine where my line was at earlier because it's pretty much gone now. Okay, see how that happened? All right. So now we'll do the same thing all the way around. I'm gonna go with my half guard halfway open on this side. We're gonna do the same thing all over again. If you can't see what I'm doing, stand somewhere else where you can see what's going on. Um, yeah, yeah, pretty much. I mean, kind of hard to use the whole entire blade because his head is round and the blade is fat. So I would say like maybe like 60% of it. Yeah, yeah. I'm not using the corner for sure. All right, so now I'm gonna do all the way closed, a little bit below that. Once I get to no guard, that's when I'll probably start doing my corner work. Now I got no guard, halfway open, a little bit below where I had my half guard at. Now I'm gonna do no guard closed. When I get to no guard closed, it should be just right above my line that I made with my trimmer. Now I'm gonna take that trimmer and knock out that very bottom line. And I'm definitely gonna use only the corner to do this. And then I'll knock out everything below that ball line. Without a guard, sometimes when I'm trying to get rid of that line around that area, the ball line, the shorter and shorter I get, I notice that as I'm trying to erase the line, I start to create stays uh, in that area, and I don't necessarily know what to do. Should I leave them alone? Should I open up should I use that same length I'm using or open up my lever and go higher? Or you're creating shades.
When you say shade, you mean like
Yeah,
dot? Like what do you mean?
so the ball line is
Uh huh.
right above the ball line is where you start using no guard.
Right.
And he does like halfway. So if I go in there halfway, right above that, sometimes it'll create. You might have to go a little higher. Okay, so go a little higher. Yeah. With that same step, yeah. Like sometimes if it still looks kind of weird, like above where you're working, you might have to go a little higher, because there's gonna be certain areas in the head that are darker than others, and we're not always gonna go like it's not gonna be like half guard, halfway open, like at the same level all the way through. It might be a little bit higher here and there, depending on the density of that area. So yes, sometimes you might have to go a little higher. You know what I mean? But you want to be careful that you don't want to start detailing too early on in the haircut. So as long as you're not like leaving lines or like making like a super dark area like that, like you're good. It doesn't have to come out perfect, but sometimes you're gonna have to go a little higher if it doesn't look right above that area that you're doing. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
And
Okay.
that detailing early, man, that helped me out a lot. Because one time I heard him say that, hey, you like he doesn't detail too early. And I know that when I would cut hair, I would try to get like everything perfect on one side before I even moved on, right? But once I started to just do the bulk of the work and the bulk of the fade and just kind of blend everything in, and then once I would go back, like the detail is very minimal. You know what I'm saying? So don't work in one area so long. If you're in an area for like 2 or 3, 5 minutes, you're probably in the area for a little too long. And that's when stuff starts getting pushed up. That's when stuff starts kind of going a little crazy. But if you just keep it moving, and just keep going all around and doing your thing, and then go back and then slowly touch up those little things, I think that helps a lot.
So I just used the number 2 closed, and now I'm going with the 1.5 closed. Now I got a 1 halfway open. Hmm? Yeah, I'm just going a little bit lower, a little bit below that 1.5, and then 1 closed. There was a whole ass fire at my apartment complex in like one of the other buildings. Yeah,
What?
I thought it was just like the thing going off, but it was a whole ass fire apparently.
That crazy. You hear it so many sometimes. You're like, just going
Yeah, I
on.
just went back to the bed and I was like,
Shooting surgery or something like that.
might want to wake up. Might want to get your ass out of bed.
That was this morning.
Yesterday, last night. All right. So now I'm gonna do the same thing I did earlier. I'm gonna use my shaver, and now this time I'm not gonna draw the line because we should be able to imagine where that line is at. Tapping right below that line that I made with my trimmer, and I'm gonna tap up like this, like flicking out, tapping down, flicking out, tapping down, and then everything below this area down here. From this point down, I'm gonna use both of my foils, and I'm gonna apply pressure so that way we can get it really bald.
Real fast. It's normal
Normal
for a 44-year-old man.
for a viejito.
For an old guy. Like the hair on that ear we were talking about. Oh, that grows like every day. He'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. So same deal. We're gonna go over it again. 1 down to the 0, half guard halfway open, half guard closed. So look, this is what you were talking about. So like right here, it's still a little dark, right? So now I'm gonna go a little higher with the half guard. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. And now I'm gonna do my no guard halfway open. And then right here, I want to go higher. Yep. Same size, same setting on the clipper. Just go a little higher. Looks a little too dark up here, so I'm gonna go higher. I like these questions. Some advanced questions right now. I'm liking this. Whichever one of you guys doesn't ask enough questions, you guys need to start forcing yourself to ask questions. Because if you don't ask questions, it's gonna take you a lot longer to learn. And if you can't think of the questions whenever we come to class, you need to write them down as you're going throughout your week and as you're struggling with certain things during your haircut. And then when you come to class on Monday, you already have a list of questions to ask me or Randy. And you don't have to think about it because you've been writing it down as you've been going throughout your week whenever you run into an issue. Now I have the no guard closed. So now I want to go a little higher right here in this area.
But for anything like mid fade, it was just to be like someone asking that they just want to get a tape on the sides and the back. If you did this one a little bit higher since it's that mid fade, you got to probably just three. If it's just like tape right on the side, do we have to also kind of lift that up too? If they do what you want to get a mid fade, we have to kind of lift up a little bit higher. That spot.
If you're doing a taper or if
Yeah,
you're doing
like
a
a taper,
mid.
like what, like taper wise, I guess. When we're doing the back end, we have to kind of like lift up a little bit high as well.
The taper?
Yeah, like they want, you know, they have to like maybe get mid, not like mid taper phase, you know, like mid taper. They also want the backside done.
On a taper fade, um, you want that. Okay, so do you see where like the top of the ear is right here? The fade has to be below that. So I want my number three to be like probably where this curve starts to straighten out. Like probably like right here. I need that three. The three is in. That's probably as high as I can go with my number three. Okay, so if I'm gonna have my three right there, I could probably bring my zero like all the way up to like right here, and I can make my fade land like about right here. But I don't want my fade to land all the way up here, higher than the ear, because then it's not gonna work. It has to land like on the occipital bone or below the occipital bone.
That's what I do. Whenever I get customers, I mean, I always use that. Leave before I start doing that, I always put the comb right there just to see where it would land straight up. So then, I mean, I can see it.
Okay. Whenever you guys take videos or pictures of me or Randy teaching class, can you guys make sure you tag the school, tag me, tag Randy, so that way we can blast it out there on all of our pages. And you want to get in the habit of doing that now, so that way you do that with your customers. Because whenever I was like trying to build my clientele, I was always tagging my customers all the time. I was tagging the shop. I was tagging everybody and their mama. Because I'm trying to get my shit out to everybody. You know what I mean? The more people I tag, the more people are gonna see it. So if I tag Randy, my customer, and he likes my haircut, and I make him look good in the video, and the video looks badass enough for him to want to repost it, now all of his people that follows him is gonna see it. Okay, and then all his buddies that he hangs out with on the weekend that have been wondering where he gets his haircut at, they're gonna find out now. Now all. Yes, yeah. Whenever when I'm posting, I do, and for that I use a hashtag generator. Okay, it's an app. You just type in hashtag generator in your apps, and it'll spit out a bunch of ones. Pick the top rated one, whatever one you want, and then you're gonna type in whatever topic you're posting. Barber, shave, fade, whatever it is, and then it's gonna spit out a whole paragraph worth of hashtags. And I promise you, your shit's gonna get out there. Like I have people tell me like, I don't know how I found you on Instagram, but you just popped up on my reels. Okay, it probably was because they searched something that I tagged. You know what I'm saying? So I got people that'll sit in my chair like, yeah, man, like I never followed you. You just came up out of nowhere. I started following your shit, and I've been following you for the last 2-3 weeks, and I always see your haircuts, and like they're always fire. Like every day, like I see your haircuts, and you know what? Like at first I was doubting you, and I wasn't really like sure if I was gonna go see you, but after I kept seeing your posts, like man, like I knew you were good, so it made me want to come in and check you out. So just because Randy's homeboys start following me tonight after I post his haircut today doesn't mean that I'm gonna see his homeboys come in and shop with me right away. It might take a little bit of time. But after they see my work over and over and over and over again, they're gonna want to come get a taste and see what it's like. You know, like, oh man, this guy, like,
They could probably
you know,
tell son like, hey, go get him try see how the hair comes up.
yep. And it's happened to me like so many times, bro, so many times. And it's gonna happen here too. Like just by you guys like tagging the school, tagging me, like I'm pretty sure like you guys are gonna get one of my customers to come and get a haircut with you when I'm too busy, or maybe like people that follow the barber shop that don't have their barber here anymore because their barber left here when they got turned into a school, and they're looking for somebody, and now they see your haircuts, and even though you're a student, like they see your haircuts and they like your quality of work. They don't care if you're a student or not. All they want to know is like, do you know how to cut hair? You know? And now you might get another customer added to your list of customers because you decided to tag the shop or to tag me or to tag your customer or whatever. So you want to make it a habit and start doing that every single time you make a post. Um, when it comes to the stories, I don't do a bunch of hashtags. I probably should, but when it comes to the stories, I just tag people. And on your post, you could do both. When you post a reel or an actual post, you could tag people and do all the hashtags and all that stuff.
What year you leave off of? 5, 6, 7?
I was at 5 when I was working at Razors. That was my second shop. The first shop where like it was basically learning, trying to figure out how to cut hair and shit, and trying to get decent. And then at Razors, that's when I was talking about how I was already decent. And then I landed in the shop that had a shit ton of clientele. We were talking about how like I was just booming every day because I landed in a shop that was busy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had said that I was making about 1,000 to 1,200 per week there with the 70-30 split. Um, so we left off at when I was working at Razors, which was my second shop, and that's when I had about 3 or 4 years of experience in a barber shop. Okay, and that's whenever like my skills were getting decent. You know, like I was getting okay. Like I still wasn't like amazing, but I was getting pretty good, and like people wanted to get a haircut with me. People were like, "Hey, I want to wait for him." You know, like I started getting my skills, you know, kind of good. Um, and then I ended up getting fired from Razors on my day off because I started working here on my day off. So I started working at Dapper on my days off because the owner of Razors told me to stop working on Saturdays. You know, and I told him like, do I have to, or like, are you telling me, or are you asking me? They're like, no, we're telling you you have to take Saturdays off. All right, cool, fine. So I started taking Saturdays off, and then I picked up Saturdays over here because I wasn't just gonna sit around on the busiest day of the week just because so and so told me that I couldn't work. You know, like no, like I'm not doing it. So started working here on my days off, and then I got fired over there like 2 days later. You know, and then I started working here full time, and I met Randy, and that's when like I started to like change gears, and I started to shift my mindset, and I started to like just basically like start doing what Randy was doing, and I started going to the classes with him, and I tried to like learn some scissor work from him, and I would watch him cut hair all the time because like I had no idea how to use the scissors, and he was just over here flipping them around and doing all this fancy shit, and the blow dryer and the fucking Johnny Bravos and shit, and I was like, damn, bro, like what? How you do that, man? And I'm over here just watching him like trying to, yeah, I can do that. And I try to do it and it'll come out all fucked up and it wouldn't work. And you know, like I was like trying to learn like that part of it now because those first few years, like I was just like a one trick pony. I was just like the guy that knows how to do really good fades and that's it. Like I was not good. I wasn't that good at doing beard work. I wasn't that good at doing scissor work. I didn't even do scissor work when I met Randy. Um, I would actually refuse to do scissor work. Like people would ask me, and I like, nah, fam, like I can't do all that, bro. Like I'll give you a fade though, you know, but I ain't doing all no scissors. No, no, no. And So I didn't know how to do scissor work. I didn't know how to do beard work, but I was good at doing a fade, right? So I'm still missing 2/3 of barbering. You feel me? And like that only got me so far, right? It only got me to like about 1,000 a week. Okay, give or take. All right. And then once I started working with Randy, I started taking the classes and all that stuff, and I started trying to like better my skill. And I wasn't really like fully invested until I had a baby. Okay. Once my lady got pregnant, that's when I had to like really like switch gears and like really wanna like start really getting better because I have a lot more responsibilities coming my way now, and now my life is gonna get a lot more expensive. Okay. And I know my lady is about to have to stop working because she's only getting bigger and bigger. Okay, and eventually she's not going to be able to work anymore because she's going to get to the point where her feet are going to hurt. She's not going to want to stand up anymore, and she's going to have to sit down all the time, and you know, whatever. And that's what really made me start like grinding hard, because I had to, I had no choice. It's either I grind hard or I'm gonna struggle, and I'm not gonna struggle. Like I'm not gonna have my kids struggle. I'm not gonna have my family struggle. So I'm gonna figure it out, and I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do to make it happen. So that's when I really turned up the heat, and I started going to like every single class, bro. Like every class. Like my lady would be getting on my ass because I'm already working 5, 6 days a week, and then on my day off, I'm getting ready, showering in the morning, and I'm about to leave again. But you worked all week and you weren't even home. I gotta go to class, baby. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this money and I'm trying to, keep going up, and that's what I did. And it was some weeks where I'm grinding 7 days and I gotta go to this class that's gonna be from 10 to 3 on my day off. And it's fucking 45 minutes away. So now fucking 7, 8 hours of my day are gone on my only day off. You know what I mean? So it was it was uh it was kind of hard to like get to get to the point that I wanted to be at, but it worked out in the end. Like eventually all that stuff worked, all the classes and stuff, and I went to like a little photography class and um, a ton of haircutting classes and a couple of hands-on haircutting classes that are a little more expensive than regular. You like that? Yeah, appreciate it. No, 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 not me. I hired somebody to do that. I hired a videographer, and he did it for me. Um, and that's whenever I was like grinding hard, bro. Like, so after I stopped working here and I started working at Endless, like that's when I started doing all that kind of stuff. Like, started because that's when my lady got pregnant, and I started like trying to figure out like how to take better videos and all that. And I took a little photography class at the community college. You know, try to like get better and learn something I don't know. Um, And I also hired that dude to take a video. And then Randy told me if I can come over here and do a little class like after hours. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. Called up my homie and I was like, hey, I need you to come shoot this video because I'm gonna do it over here at Dapper and their shop is badass. So I had him boom take a video and I started blasting that out there. I started investing in my clippers. I started trying to buy like the best tools that I could find. And I'm over here like sacrificing going out on the weekend or sacrificing me getting a new pair of shoes or buying a new outfit so I can go buy tools. You know what I mean? So I can go like take this class on the weekend that costs $300. Like I'm over here like giving every dollar that I'm getting and putting it back into the game, into the craft, and then eventually it's gonna work and eventually it's gonna pay off. But we have to put in that effort and the money if we want to grow. You got to spend money to make money. I don't care what you do or what field you go in. Like you have to spend money to make money. And then, um, so my lady got pregnant probably at that 5, 6 year mark. And then after like about 3 years of like really taking my craft serious and investing like every dollar I had and doing all that stuff that I was just talking about, that's when I finally got to the 6 figure mark and I was able to make 6 figures, you know? And I basically doubled my income in like 2 or 3 years. Okay, and that's a lot. You go from making 40, $50,000 to $100,000 or more. That's a lot in 3 years. People don't do that all the time. Like most people cannot do that at a regular job somewhere. Like they cannot give themselves a raise, or they're not gonna get a raise like that fast. You know, like this is one of the places where you can actually control how much you make. You know what I mean? If you have the demand, if you have the skills, if you have the service, like if you're well rounded and it's actually worth the dollar that you're charging. You know what I'm saying? So if you guys take this like really serious and you really perfect your craft, like you will be able to charge however much you want. You know, like is the sky is the limit. Like I got people right now that pay me the $80 for the haircut and beard, and they're over here asking me like, is it still $80 or is it more? Because I'll give you more. Oh well, in that case, I think it's about $100 today. You know, but even at 80, they're still willing to charge more. And I'm over here thinking like, damn, I'm hitting them upside the head, man. I don't even know if it's a good idea to go up again. I want to go up again, but I'm scared because I feel like I'm already charging an arm and a leg. But then I got some people talking about, oh, that's it. Or here goes an extra 20 or an extra 40. Haircut came out clean today. And they're over here paying 120, 140, 150. You know, after hours, people paying 120 and they're still tipping on top of that, throwing an extra 20 on top. You know, like it, there's not really a limit. You know what I mean? Like if you're really good and you really figure this shit out, like you could charge whatever you want. And then I started working over here again um, because Randy wanted me to be a teacher here, and I started making even more money because now I'm getting paid a little bit to teach. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm making a little bit more off of that, and it's just adding to what I had already built. You know what I mean? So it's just gonna get better and better as time goes on. And when I was building and I was trying to like figure out how to get to the point where I could make $100,000 a year, like a lot of people told me I was crazy. A lot of people told me it wasn't possible. A lot of people said that like, nah, bro, like, you know, you really can't charge too much. You know what I mean? Like that's just crazy, you know? Or like people would tell me like, oh no, ain't no way you could be busy 7 days a week or 5 days a week. You know, there's just those days, you know, that are just slow, bro, because that's just how it is. That's just how business works. And I said, nah, man, fuck that, bro. Like that's how your business works. But my business is gonna be busy every day, and I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna figure out how to do that. You know, because there's plenty of businesses out here that are busy every fucking day. There's no reason for us to be slow. There's no excuse for us to be slow, right? Because there's plenty of people out here that are doing it and they're busy every day. And the only reason they're busy every day is because they're really good at what they do. Okay? That's the only reason. Any little place that you go to, whether it's a restaurant, uh, a car wash, a grocery store, doesn't matter. If they're busy, it's because they're doing it right. You know what I mean? And if we're not doing it right, we're not going to be busy. As simple as that. So we got to do it right, you know, all the way around if we want to be like really, really busy. If you're talking about price point, what is a good price point to start at and coming out of this school, and what are some of the things that we keep in mind when making that? Okay, so I would just keep in mind the going rate right now for a haircut, and to me, like the going rate right now is like about $30 for a haircut. Most of the time when you walk in somewhere, it's about 30. I think about $30 is pretty average. You might find something for 25, but I would just have a real conversation with myself, and I would judge myself and judge my work. You know, like just looking at my haircuts and I'm comparing them to the guys that charge $50. Do my haircuts look like these guys' haircuts yet? Yes or no? And you can see them side by side. You pull up your page and you pull up a barber that's charging a little bit more than you, and you look at the quality of the haircut, and you can see the difference right away. And you're gonna be able to clearly know that I still have more work to do on my fade. Maybe my blow drying and my hairstyle could look a little bit better. Maybe my beard work is kind of lacking. You're gonna be able to see what you're missing and what you're not doing that he is, because you can see the difference when you put the two pictures side by side. And then also like I'm gonna look at demand. Okay, like do I have a demand? Do I have a long list or a long line of people lined up out the door waiting for me? Or do I barely have 20% of my schedule full only? If I only have 20, 30% of my schedule full, I am not in the position to be raising my price or to be thinking about how much I should be charging. I need to be I need to start down here at the base price, at the going rate. And then from there, as my skills get better, as my demand gets higher, as my clientele gets bigger, then I can start thinking about going up $10, $5, whatever it is, you know. But I started raising my prices, and I do it $10 at a time because I don't want to be getting only a $5 raise. To me, that's not going to make a difference. If I raise my prices $10, I'm gonna get like $100 more per day if I go up $10 because I'm doing about 10 services per day. So now I'm gonna see a difference. I'm probably gonna make like an extra 400 or 500 at the end of the week. But if I'm only go up $5, I'm only gonna make an extra what? $50 a day. I get an extra $100, $200 per week. Like that's not really gonna make a difference to me. That's like 1 or 2 after hour haircuts. That's not a lot, you know. So I like to go up $10, and the way I'm gonna do that is by like just seeing how busy I am, you know. So once I get my clientele to the point where I'm booked up 90, 100% of the time, every week, every day, weeks and weeks and weeks, not just for the last 2 weeks, you know, but for weeks and weeks and weeks, we've been booked up every day, all day. Like now I know I can go up $10. Okay. And if my books are still full like that 100% of the time, and I still got people calling me trying to get squeezed in my schedule because I'm so booked, like I know I could probably do it again. So I'm gonna do it again. Boom. And then once I see my traffic slow down a little bit, and like now I see that I have like a little bit of openings here and there, and maybe like my books are only like 80% full now instead of 100% full, now I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna leave my prices where they're at, and I'm gonna keep doing my thing, grinding it out, advertising myself, hitting it hard, doing everything I gotta do. And then once I get my books 100% full again, or 110% full because I'm booked and I got people calling me trying to get squeezed in, then I'll do it again. Boom, hit them for another $10. Now I'm at 70, you know? And then boom, I lose a little bit of people. Now I have a couple openings, but once I fill those in and I'm 100% full all day, every day for weeks and weeks and weeks consistently, do it again. Boom, now we're at 80. And I'm gonna just keep repeating that process. Boom, over and over and over and over, provided that my demand is there. Okay, like the skills have to be there in order for you to build that demand. But if your demand is not there, you can't increase the price yet. There's levels, right? It's first like build the skill, get the demand, and then you hit them with the price, right? Makes sense. So a good base price right now is like $25, $30, and that's not outrageous. That's not like
No.
that's just no normal haircut. Without beard too, right? Without the beard, yeah. Yeah.
And then if your beard work's not great,
Don't even charge them, right?
yeah, you just start getting good at beard. You feel like your beard's getting better, add another $5, add another
That was
$10.
gonna be my next question. Beard adds how much to the service?
Depends on how good you are with it. Like, what would you say? You first start off what, $5, $10?
Yeah, I would do
For a
like
beard?
5, because I'm just really trying to get the practice in.
Yeah,
So adding $5 to baseline price is okay.
it's okay. Yeah, especially if you're
Yeah.
just starting off and you're still figuring out the beard and doing stuff like that. Yeah, especially if you're charging 20, $25, beard $30. You know what I'm saying? But once you start getting good at it, like your beard price, what's your beard price? Like on top of that?
Oh, like by itself or on top of the
On top of
haircut?
the haircut.
An extra 20.
20,
By itself is only 40.
40. So he has people coming in just for a beard, $40. You know, and,
Right.
But
Right.
you see his beard work.
Right.
It's good. So I think you just have to charge almost charge what you're worth. But I think he did say something very good. Be honest with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because what I see happen a lot, especially working at the Plano location, we get new barbers coming in, maybe cutting a year or two, and they're surrounded by a lot of good barbers who are charging $80, maybe $100, you know, and they're there for 6 months, and they're seeing them getting paid all this money, and they automatically want to start going up real quick. And when they do that, now I had one guy there who was there for about a year, and one day he asked me how much he was charging more than me, you know, and I'm like, okay, like I don't know if that's a good idea, and it wasn't just because he would get, not that he would get booked up, he would probably cut about 5 or 6 heads, but guess what? Those 5 or 6 heads he cut never rebooked with him. For the whole year, he would cut, but he had nobody coming back and rebook. He wasn't building clientele. He was just getting people that would come and try him out. And what do you think they thought? They were like, damn, I paid 70, $80 for this haircut, and it looked like the dude that I was paying $30 for.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why am I paying for this? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you going out and buying something because it's expensive and it's gonna last, and it's gonna last you a week or two. And you're like, damn, dude, this thing might as well just buy that. You know? So
you weren't having a lot of repeat customers.
yes, and that's what you want. And that's the whole thing. When someone sits in your chair, your goal is to keep them there. As soon as someone sits in your chair, that's why I tell you, man, you gotta spend all your time on them. Just focus on them. They need to feel like that's the only customer you're cutting all day. You're servicing them, right? And you do that to every customer, and slowly, one's gonna add up, two's gonna add up. You're gonna start building that clientele. But if you're hitting them upside the head right off the rip, and your service and your skills aren't there, they're not coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I think that go ahead.
Like, I feel like the point we're trying to get across right now is like to work on the skill and not to be worried about how much money you're getting. The money's gonna come. I guarantee it. It's gonna happen. It might take a little bit of time, but I promise you it's gonna come. So you should just be focused on the skill and getting the practice in. So like if you suck at doing beard work, do it for free until you get decent or good enough. And then once you have like people asking you for beard work and you're seeing a lot of people asking you for beard work, start charging $5. And then you can start charging $10 because now you have a demand and now you're actually getting some kind of skill and like it's actually looking the way it's supposed to and people are asking for it. They want it. Like they think it's good enough to come back for. And then you can start going a little bit higher, a little bit higher, a little bit higher. But right now it's like shouldn't even be focused on the dollar. It should be focused on the skill. And then once you get the skills, the dollars is gonna come for sure.
And I think for you, I think just hearing you talk and seeing you work, I feel like you're probably thinking that 25, 30 is a little too high. Is that what you're kind of thinking when you first said that? Or no?
Yes and no. I'm not gonna be. I'm going with the other saying and being honest.
Yeah.
Because you have to be. But it's between 25 and 30.
Yeah.
I have people that pay me 35.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not focused too much on the money. I'm more focused on meeting a middle ground where I have traffic coming in because of the price, but I can still make a little money, you know. So I'm not. Yes, I am focused on the price, but not a lot.
Yeah.
I want to be able to make that decision where people are going to come just because he's a little cheaper. But I'm more focused on repetitions, you know.
Yeah.
So if I go in for $40 or something like that, people are going to be hesitant.
Yeah.
They're always hesitant at first.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah. I think a good price point.
I think 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't too sure
Yeah.
that was out of the ordinary.
No, that's gonna be like a pretty cheap price haircut. Like it's not gonna be expensive. It's not gonna be average. It's gonna be a little bit below than the going rate, which is gonna help you out because it's gonna give people like another reason to sit in your chair. You know what I mean? And then once you start building that demand and once you have your chair spinning all the time, and you can go up a little bit. You know, the plan is not to stay at 25. That's just for now. That's just to get us busy and to build our skills and to get the craft. And then we're gonna plan on going up and up and up. It's just a matter of time, you know. What happened? Before they leave, I don't really have time for that, so I don't. And mainly because of the time. Like I'm literally like back to back to back, you know, and like I really don't even have a minute between my customers. Like I just have just enough time to finish them, get them out the chair, and set the next one down whenever they book for me. So I don't have the luxury to do that. If I had like a secretary or something, I would have them do that for me. If I had the time, I would do that myself. But I just have them do it for me, you know, because the way my little app works, they could do it themselves. And it's one less thing for me to do. You know what I mean? But I would like to be able to do that. I feel like it'd be more professional and it'd look a little bit better. You know, Randy does that, and I do like the way that looks. You know, it looks very professional. I just don't have time. You know. Yeah, yeah. It's nice for the customer because now they don't have to do it. Like, oh, okay, now I'm all set up for next week. Whatever. Yeah.
Like what you doing, you like kind of push out so you
Yeah. So I'm angling the comb outward
like
so I can connect the short length to the long length without cutting a ton of hair. Yeah, that's how I use it. Like some of my homies, they like to use the clipper and comb to like for blending and to do the actual fade. I just don't feel like it's as precise as using guards. It's faster when you're doing a fade like that, but I don't feel like it's as precise and as consistent all the way around when you're doing a fade with the clipper or the comb. I like doing a fade with the guards.
Mm, at first, I would try to do the like, blend in stuff and fake stuff like that, but I recently just started doing flip over comb. I was more like a shear over comb type of thing, but I think once I started kind of listening to him, I started using it more on just shape, on just shape. Yeah,
How did it affect the shape?
it just made it more clean, more square, more it,
More perfect?
more perfect. Yeah, it did. It really did.
you connecting the fade area to the longer hair, right? So you connecting those and making it giving us a nice silhouette.
Right, exactly, exactly. You build a nice silhouette. I will say this though, sometimes, especially like with Asian hair, when it's really, really straight, I've noticed that like, and especially if they have like dips in their head or something like that, you can see the fade. The fade is like super, super clean, but then when you turn them to the mirror, it's almost doing this number, where it's bowing out a little bit, or doing this, or doing that.
So you could literally just put like a list kind of
Yes,
where it's longer hair.
yes, but then it looks good when we're looking at it from the side at our angle. But the client is going to be facing this way, looking in the mirror, and he's going to have to live with it. He's not looking at himself like this,
Mm-hmm.
so he's looking at himself like this, and all he sees is an inconsistency where boom, he don't like that. So he's like, take that off. But then when I take that off, it may not make the fade look as clean as it was before. You know what I'm saying? So those are little things that you kind of have to kind of work around. One guy's like that. A lot of cheaters. When I would cut Peter's hair, man, I would fade it so clean, and I would turn to the mirror, and it would be here, maybe here, and take it off. Flat. And once I flattened it out,
That it changes the whole dynamic of the fade.
it really does. So for him, perfect. You know,
And you're done.
done.
Mm-hmm. And so that just gave me a light bulb. Like, so I purposely clipper and combed first before I detail because I might fuck with the fade whenever I do clipper and comb, just like Randy was saying. Like, sometimes you have left a lot of bulk and the fade looks super good, but then when you go clipper and comb, like it fucks with the fade, right? Yeah. So sometimes when it does alter the fade a little bit, we're gonna have to go back and detail it. So that's another reason why I like to leave the detail to the very end after I make my guidelines, erase my guidelines, cut the scissors, do the scissor work on the top, put the shaver, do the clipper in the comb, do all the edges, trim it all up. Then I detail it. Okay, because if I don't do it in that order, I might have to like do something twice, whether it's detail or whatever it is. Almost good. All right. So now I'm looking at the transition from the fade to the top, and I feel like I have like a line right here that I don't like. But when I look at the silhouette, it looks good. Okay, the shape is good. So I'm not gonna keep on going with my clipper and comb because then I'm gonna ruin everything above my fade, okay, which is my scissor work. All right. So if I still don't like the way the transition looks all the way up to the top after I clipper and comb, I'm gonna use my scissor over comb technique to kind of erase this line that we have around the side of the head. Everybody see that line? Okay, it's right here. Okay, this side doesn't really have it, but it's all of this over here. So I'm gonna use a white comb so I can see what I'm doing.
You don't think that's fine from whenever you did the U-shape, the horseshoe in the beginning? You have one line.
Maybe when I pulled the horseshoe down to the guide and I went like square to the chest, maybe because of that, I left it a little too heavy, maybe. So now when I go in there with my comb, I'm gonna look for any inconsistencies. And if I see hair that's too long right here compared to the sides, I'm gonna cut that off and make it even with the rest. So when I stick this comb in here, everything over here and over here is shorter than right here. So that's how I know that I gotta cut this and make it even with the rest. Okay. I'm making sure I'm standing directly in front of the area that I'm working on. So that way, whenever I go around the head, it's going to be a round shape, just like we did with our DFS, right? I'm not going to like create a crazy angle like somewhere and like, take a chunk of his hair out. So this happens a lot with the comb over. You get like a little chunk of hair right here. Okay. And I like to take that off at the end with my shears. And that happens just like little by little. And when I move my hands up like this at the same time, my comb is gonna go straight up. It's just the way your body works, and this is just the way your arms are gonna work. Like no matter what you do, if you put both of your arms up at the same time, like this is gonna stay perfectly straight. I don't know why or how, but it just works. Okay. So if we're moving both of our hands, we're not gonna dig into his comb over at all. So I'm gonna leave that alone, and I can mess with it later if it still bothers me. But it looks pretty good. So now that I look at that area of the head again that was bothering me earlier before I did this, I can see that that line is damn near gone. Okay, a lot of that weight is gone. Now it looks a lot better. The transition looks a lot smoother from the clipper work to the scissor work. So now I'm done with everything. And now the only thing left to do is the detail work. That's the only thing left. Okay, we did everything else we could possibly do. Okay. before I do the detail, I'm gonna dust them off just in case there's like some hair that is sitting on the fade that we cut earlier and it just landed on his head. I want to make sure that I brush everything off and I can see what's going on, so I can see what we need to cut or what needs to get detailed. All right, and for the detail portion, we're gonna be using the Masters. I like to use a combination of two different clippers or two different blades whenever I'm doing a haircut. I like to use one clipper to do the guidelines, yeah, the guidelines, and to erase the guidelines. And then I like to use a completely different clipper with a completely different blade to do my detail work, because the combination of two different clippers is going to allow you to clean up the fade even more than it already is now. Because like the fade looks good right now, and yeah, it looks, I could probably go in there with the wall, but it's only going to get so good. But when I combine it with a different blade, it's just going to go in there and it's just going to make that fade even better. Okay, you can, I feel like you can only make a haircut so good with the same clipper, but use different kinds and it gets even better. So for this part of the haircut, I'm gonna be using the mirror, because if I don't use my mirror, it's gonna be a lot harder for me to see what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna be able to catch all of the imperfections in the haircut. So whenever I'm looking at this, I can see that we have a couple imperfections right here. I see we have a little bit of a dark spot right here, and then we have a little bit of a dark spot right here towards the temple, kind of in this area, maybe right there, maybe right here. Everybody see that? Here, here, over here. Yep. So it's, the details are kind of minor, but they're still there. So I'm gonna make sure I'm facing him so that way I can see this whole side of the head in the mirror. And I'm gonna start with my number 4 closed. Now I have my 3 closed. Now my 2 closed.
It was crazy. Just how we started with that 4, like right off the rip. I heard just one little piece, not a lot. And then when we went to the 3, maybe heard a little bit more, but there's not much hair coming off. But just that just goes to show how precise and how picky he's being with the detail, right? So it's like there's not gonna be a lot of hair coming off, but he sees little things and he's slowly getting it off.
Yeah, just because you have a certain guard doesn't mean that you have to hear a lot of stuff being cut. Like, no, like we're doing details, so we're just picking and choosing different areas that we want to lighten up. Okay. No, no, all of them are closed except for when I get down to my number 1. So now I'm gonna go after this dark spot right there. Started with the lever all the way open, and I'm slowly gonna close it little by little until I like the way it looks. And now I'm gonna leave that part alone. What's up? Just the corner when I'm doing detail work, just the corner. Because these details are pretty small, and if I use the whole blade for a detail that's this small, I'm gonna ruin everything else around this detail, you know? And it's important that we like are being like we're working with precision, because if we have a detail that's like about this big, you know, all the way around, like it's just like a dark spot like about this wide, and we're like hitting the clipper like we're just going crazy on that area and we're going all around that dark spot, we're gonna ruin that whole area of that haircut. So if you see a small dark spot, make sure you get skinny and you go sideways like this. You use only the corner of that blade, right? You need to make sure you're not using more blade than what you're trying to detail. Now I'm gonna use my surgical blade with no guard, and I'm gonna start all the way open. Close it about halfway. And now this side is done. So can you guys see the difference between both sides? One just looks a little more clean than the other. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna do the same process on this side. This side looks like it's not gonna require as much detail as the other side did. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. So that way I don't feel like I have to cut something when there's really not much to be cut. That was a 3 close. This is a 2 close. Now I got the one on there halfway open. Now I got my 0 halfway open. All the way closed. Half guard. Now I have a surgical blade with no guard, all the way open. And I'm gonna slightly close it just a little bit until I get this area lightened up the way I want it to be. Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it'll take me once you bring my clientele after?
To build your clientele after school.
Like, how long did it take you?
Um,
You work like different barbershops, you know? So, like, when did you have your
I think once your skills get pretty good after that first year and you're decent, it should take you like a year or two. Yeah, and you should be able to build a good clientele where you should be generating at least 50,000 a year. Okay.
But that's if you're going in every day, if you're getting there early, if you're staying late, if you're staying when the shop's slow and you're still staying.
Yeah.
That. But if you're half-assing it, you go in and whenever you feel like it, you don't go in certain days. Um, you leave when it's slow. Like it's gonna take you a longer time. It's gonna take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like anything, you have to be consistent with it, even when the times are slow, even when you feel like you're not doing it. You have to be consistent. Because that one walk-in that comes in that you cut that one day, it could lead to a client who brings you 10, 15, 20 customers. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Don't just look at it as just one haircut. You know?
Yep. There was plenty of days when I was building my clientele where like I wouldn't cut anything all day long, and then at the end of the day, the last hour of the day, here comes 3, 4 walk-ins, and instead of me being like, "Oh nah, bro, I'm going home. It's already time to close," I got you. All of us? Yeah, all of you. Come on. Boom, boom, boom. Knock them all out. And out of those 2 or 3 haircuts that I grabbed at the last minute, at the last hour of the day, 1 or 2 of them are going to be my customers and they're going to like my service. They're going to come back with me. And now I just added another 2 people to my list of customers. And I'm going to do that every day, every day, every day, even if I have to build only 1 or 2 customers at a time. But eventually, all those 1 or 2 customers are going to add up to a week, full of appointments,
so when you do get a new get locked in?
No, I either have them book with me through Instagram, or I send them the link to their phone number, or they download the app. It's like various ways that where how they can reach me. They can go straight to like the website, like they could use like my URL, whatever it's called. Yeah, the link. That's www.chicagothebarber. So they could do it any way they want. Whenever I had my electronic contact card, I could just swipe the card or have them scan the card, and then it'll download my contact to their phone. And then whenever they go to their phone book and they go to my contact, they could just click on my contact, and then my link to book is going to be there too. So like there's all different kinds of ways that your customers could find your booking system. Now we gotta touch up the back a little bit, and we're done. And then we have to style his hair for him. So after this, we'll put some product and blow dry it a little bit, and he'll be ready to go. Any questions about the stuff that we were talking about today? Nothing? Once I get down to the last guard, which is the half guard, then I'm gonna switch over to my surgical blade. The difference between a surgical blade and a regular taper blade is gonna be the lines on the back of the blade and also the shape of the blade. Okay, the shape of the blade on a taper blade is gonna be a lot thicker and it has a belly to it. Okay, the fade blade or surgical blade, it goes from thick to thin and there's no belly to it. There's no little lump on the back. Okay, and this blade is a lot thinner than this one. Okay, and I need to use a surgical blade when I'm trying to fade, blend, or detail like that very bottom part of the fade where we have a zero, okay, or where our trimmer line is at. This is the only kind of blade that's gonna allow us to work that area of the fade. If we use a taper blade, like we're not gonna be able to clean this area up at all. Hmm? No, you have to buy this online. I tried to buy it down the street and they didn't even have it over there. I'm actually about to order one today. I was gonna order it tomorrow, but I forgot to actually like press buy it. You know, I got it right there on the computer screen. And like this is like what made me fall in love with the masters is the fade master blade. Like don't get me wrong, I like the other one too, but I feel like this is where the magic happens as far as like the fade goes. Yeah, the half guard was the last thing that I used, and now I'm working this one from the no guard all the way open to all the way closed, and I'm closing it up little by little. So now I'm gonna use my fading shear to hit up this little piece right here. It's a little too dark. And that lined it up just right. When I do this, I'm getting like very, very minor imperfections. Stuff that's so tiny that I'm scared to dig into the fade with the clipper because I feel like I might mess up what's around it. I like to look at the fade from all angles because if you just look at it from one angle, you're not gonna see all the flaws in the fade. So as I'm slowly spinning him around, I'm seeing the fade from every direction. Because there's a lot of times that we'll see the fade like just head on and it looks good, but as soon as we look at it like from an angle, you can see a faint line running through the fade. Okay, so instead of me like looking at the fade from every angle, walking around him, I'm just gonna do it by spinning my chair, and I'm gonna slowly spin the chair, and I'm gonna look at the fade every way possible. Not bad for some walls. Not bad. Didn't get to use my metal guards, man, but still came out pretty straight. Not bad.
I think they got a lot from it too.
Yeah, it worked out better. Yeah, thank you for telling me to do that, Edgar.
Good call, Edgar.
Whenever you guys have suggestions or different like ideas for like a topic, feel free to tell me whenever you feel like it. Whenever you think about it, whenever it comes to mind, let me know. If there's a topic that you feel like you need more help on, I can make a class out of it. Um, me knowing what you guys need help with helps me out a lot because it gives me more stuff to talk about. So help me help you, by telling me what's going on and telling me what you guys are thinking about. Okay. So now I'm gonna add a little something in his hair, so that way it'll help hold the hair where I want to put it whenever I start blow drying his hair. We already have a base product in there, so that's gonna give us a little bit of a hold. Not much, but it is gonna help a little bit. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I use both. I use this one with the lines, whenever I'm using my guards. So when I use my plastic guards, I use this one. Okay. Whenever I go to no guard, I go with this one. Okay. So this one only is going to be used for the no guard portion of the fade, and then also when I'm sculpting my beards, I'm going to use this, and then also when I'm like shaping up the sides, I'm going to use this as well. Okay. Whenever I do this right here, the first thing that touches his head is my hand or my pinky. Okay. Once my hand and my pinky touches his head, now my clipper is gonna get a little more steady. Okay. And then I'm gonna be able to move my clipper closer to the head to where I want to cut it, and then I'm gonna move my hand up. 3 different steps. Put your hand on the head, get the clipper close enough to the area that you want to cut, and then cut. Okay? It's not just gonna be like, eh, eh. No, because if we do that, we're gonna mess something up. We might get lucky once or twice, but doing it that way is gonna be a lot easier for us to make a mistake. Whenever I did my clipper and comb and everything, like the shape looked really good, but I'm still finding like little hairs here and there that are sticking out that are making my shape like not perfect. Like it already looked really good, but I want it to be perfect. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna use something that doesn't have too much shine to it. I don't want Randy to look all greasy.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm only gonna use just a little bit. This hand right here, I haven't even touched on the head. My right hand put product all over the top. Okay. I covered the whole horseshoe, and then I started to cover up some of this over here on the back of the head. And then now I have this hand right here that still has all this product in it. Spread it out through both hands, and then I'm gonna hit the front. And I'm doing that to make sure that I don't put all the product only in one area of his head. I don't want to put all that product in my hands and then just go like, boom. Because now all that product that we put is all going to be right here. And it's going to be real heavy and it's going to look bad. You know, I want to evenly distribute it all throughout the haircut. And I only put a little bit. Like, I'll show you how much I put. I probably put about this much. Okay? Very little. I can always add more. There's no need for me to go crazy. I feel like the less product, the better, and the more natural the hair looks. When you put a lot of product in there, it makes the hair like kind of get real chunky, and it just doesn't look good. It looks unnatural. Switching hands, okay? This is a lot easier for me to do versus this, okay? So now that I got all this hair right here in the direction that I wanted to go, it was already in the direction that I wanted it to go, but I needed to make sure that I went over it again with the blow dryer to kind of like melt the product down and like distribute it throughout the hair, okay? Even though it was already to the side earlier. Still wanted to go over it with the blow dryer. Now I'm gonna lower the air and lower the heat. I got it on medium heat and medium air, okay? It's not on full blast, but it's not on low. And I'm gonna do it on medium air and medium heat until I get some volume. Once I get some volume going, I'm gonna switch over to low air, low heat, because low air is gonna prevent the hair from getting frizzy. Okay, if I have high air when I'm trying to like perfect the haircut and really make it look polished, it's gonna blow the hair everywhere because the air is coming out way too strong. So when I do this round brush thing, I'm only gonna be working like a small section right here in the front. It's gonna be probably like about an inch wide or about the same width as my brush. So I'm gonna dig into this corner over here first, and I'm gonna pull all this hair out. Turn your head towards me. So you see how much I'm grabbing right there? I'm not grabbing the hair that's like all the way back here. I'm only grabbing like a small little area in the front. Make sure the air's on low whenever I'm doing this because I'm really close to the skin.
Okay, can you move that camera?
So now that I got this area right here nice and fluffy, and I kind of built up some volume right there, I can go ahead and start working the middle. And again, I'm only grabbing like a small piece of hair right here in the front. I'm not trying to grab any hair from the middle of the head. So I do that by slicing the hair horizontally like this, and then I'll dig in there and grab that hair. Now that the middle has some volume to it, now I can go ahead and work this corner over here. And I'm slowly coming from this way all the way around. So I can have consistent volume all the way through. This very corner over here is a little short, and it's not long enough for me to wrap it around my comb, so I'm just gonna blow dry it up, and I'm not gonna stress too much about it. So now when I look at it in the mirror, it looks consistent all the way through. I have volume everywhere. I don't have only volume from half his head this way. I have volume over here as well. It's the whole fringe has volume. I see a lot of people like they do a comb over, and then like there's only volume from like the middle of the head that way, and this whole side is like this. It's all flat. Okay, I like it there to be, volume all the way throughout. Okay. So now that I got the volume that I want, I'm gonna go ahead and blast it with some cold air. That cold air is gonna lock in this volume that I just created. What's up? Yep, that's the last step. So we used the base product, which was the blow dry spray, and then we went in there with the paste, which was the Night Rider. and then we're gonna finish up with a spray wax. Okay. So when I do this, I'm gonna use 2 different combs. I'm gonna use a pick, and then I'm gonna use a styling comb, a white tooth styling comb. I'm gonna add a light coat of hairspray all around. And I'm making sure I'm not too close. I'm at least like a foot away. And then I'm gonna comb through his hair in the direction that I want it to go. And the reason I like to do this with a pick is because it's not gonna ruin or flatten any of the volume that we created. If you use a brush, a lot of the times it tends to push and flatten all that volume, okay? And this is gonna help lift it all up, okay? And I'm really liking the brush look right now on Randy. So I'm not gonna try to make those chunky things that I usually do with this one, because when I look at his hair, actually it kind of does want to get chunky a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do it. Sometimes if the hair looks good brushed, I'll leave it brushed. Then I'll just hit it with some hairspray, and then hit the top and shape it up a little bit, and then leave it alone. But if I could see that the hair like wants to like separate and wants to get chunky, then I'll go with that, and then I'll go ahead and use that comb. So in order to do that, we're gonna use this one right here, and I can see like the chunks in his hair look kind of thick. So I'm gonna use the thicker side with the wider gaps, wider separations. If I saw the chunks of his hair were kind of skinny, then I would use something like this. But I kind of want to do what the hair naturally wants to do. I don't want to just perfect it, okay? But I'm kind of working with the hair. I'm spraying it till I see some water droplets on there. Once I see some water droplets, then I'm gonna stop. Once I comb through the hair, I'm gonna hold it in place, let it dry, and then I'll go ahead and slide it out. Okay. Spray this half until I see some water droplets on there. Once I see the water droplets, I'll go ahead and stick this comb in there about halfway through. I'm not going all the way down to the roots, probably going halfway down the hair. And then I'm gonna pull, and I'm gonna hold, and then I'm gonna slide it out. Spraying the top of it right now because I'm going to create a little bit of shape right here. Trying to get any random like stray hairs to stick down. Now the top looks nice and smooth. Okay. Any questions? Anything else you guys are like confused about? So whenever we're doing a comb over and we are working on the horseshoe, do we find the apex on both sides or on one side?
There's times they got
You don't know. When you're doing a comb over, you only pull down to the apex on one side, and that's the side that they're gonna comb it over to. So for this haircut, we split it down the middle, and we only pulled down to the apex on this side of the head because he combs it over this way. Okay, comb over, yeah. And then from the apex forward, we pulled down however we needed to trim the desired length. And then we left this side alone, pulled everything up to the top, and we used our guide that was over here in this area, and we connected it to this. Okay, sometimes we go triangular, sometimes we go square, depending on how long we want to leave the hair. Okay. And a comb over is the only haircut where you're only going to be pulling the apex down only on one side, only on this haircut. Every other haircut, you're going to pull the apex down to the guide on both sides for every other haircut except the comb over. The comb over is the only one that we don't do that. You guys tired of hearing me talk, or do you guys want me to do a shave? Shave. Shave. You guys aren't tired of me yet? Been sitting here forever, man. Yeah. Don't take a nap, Randy. All right. So we're gonna do a clean shave on him, and this is technically like the hardest shape to do because you have to go around all of the curvature of the face, the jawline, the chin, everything. And when you go over the bones, it's kind of hard, and it makes it like a little more scary. And a lot of times we can nick people when we're going over bones. But the whole safety razor thing that I've been using lately has been making my life a whole lot easier, and it's been making clean shaves like even easier than every other shave, and it's supposed to be the hardest one. So that's one of the reasons why I really like this new blade that I've been using. It makes my job easier. So since Randy's hair is pretty short, I'm not gonna use the trimmer to knock it down. I'm gonna leave it the way it is, and I'm gonna just go straight in there with the razor. If his hair was longer than that, I would knock it down with the trimmer everywhere, and then I would go ahead and start shaving him up. But that's the most you need to do is just knock it down with the trimmer, and that's it. Well, there goes that. All right. So since I'm doing a clean shave and we're going to be using a lot of shaving gel on him, can somebody grab me a towel, please? Anybody? This one already got shaving gel on it. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to grab the opposite corners, okay? And this is what's going to happen. And then I'm going to flip this up, and both of these corners are going to land on the side of his neck, okay? And then each one of these corners is going to get tucked into his shirt, and I'm going to tuck it in all the way inside his shirt. This is gonna prevent me from getting his shirt wet from my hot towel, and it's also gonna prevent me from getting his shirt stained from my shaving gel or my shaving cream, whatever you're using. I keep my shaving gel in this container, and then I also keep it inside of this little machine right here. This is a spa machine, and this is made to keep gels and oils and creams warm. And it's a nice little touch that you could add to your service. Okay, now that we got him with shaving gel everywhere, I can go ahead and work it in. You know where Kyle's backpack is at, Randy?
I put it on the table right there in the room. I just put it on the table.
Okay, it's right here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna test out the hot towel on my wrist. Make sure it's not too hot. Too hot.
No, I'm good.
I'm also gonna tap it on his face before I go ahead and wrap it. Okay, so with this razor blade, the top is gonna come off, and we do that by unscrewing it from the bottom, and we can see the top come off like that. Once it's loose, it slides right out. Okay. And then I'm gonna take the same kind of blades that we always use all the time in the barbershop, the ones that we normally crack in half. Okay. This time we're not gonna crack it in half. I'm gonna put that right there, and we can see how it lines up with the hose. Okay. Everybody see how it lines up with the hose? Once I make sure that it's all lined up, I can drop this in there, and we can see that it's got 3 different metal pieces that are gonna slide in and line up with those holes. And then I'm gonna tighten it up, and we can see that our blade is like perfectly like straight, and you'll see it start to bend as we tighten it up. Now it's nice and tight. Now I can go ahead and shave them up. The first time I go over the face, I'm gonna go with the grain. Okay, so that if the hair is growing down, I'm gonna shave down. If the hair is growing up, I'm gonna shave up. After I shave his whole face with the grain, then I'm gonna go ahead and lather him again, and then shave him against the grain with a new blade. Okay, there's 2 sides to our blade. Okay, we have this side and this side. I'm only gonna use one side when I go with the grain, and then I'm gonna flip it over to go against the grain, and I'll have a fresh, brand new blade. Okay. Yes, I've been using it for that too, and I love it because when you go with the grain with the straight razor, you still leave a little stubble, and it looks like a little dirty or dark or like green or whatever, and it doesn't look as bald as it should be or as it could be, you know. And when I use this one, I can go against the grain, and you don't really see that little dark like shadow anymore. It's just bald, like it looks like he lost hair everywhere, you know, just real smooth. All right, so now we're gonna go with the grain. You can order this online at Amazon. I got it from Stonebriar Mall. When I went to Stonebriar, I was walking past like a knife shop, and I saw that they had a bunch of like straight razors and like safety razors and stuff, and it got my attention. And I walked in there, and I asked him about the razors that he had, and he was telling me about them, that they were German made and real heavy and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, well, let me get one. Actually, my first one I bought from the Art of Shaving, and I was just like, oh, I'm gonna see what it's about, and I loved it. I've been using it on myself for like the last 4 or 5 years, and I just recently started using one at work. I bought me another one so I can bring it here, and I've been using it for like the last few weeks. Hasn't even been that long, and I've been loving it, and my customers love it too because I'm able to give them a balder, longer lasting shave with almost little to no irritation. And this is definitely a lot less irritating than using a straight blade. You use a straight blade on somebody's whole face, and that should be fucking burning afterwards. But with this one, man, it feels like almost like I'm not even cutting the hair sometimes, like for the customer. Like they think that I'm not even doing anything, but I'm really cutting. Yes and no. Like the brand that I use is Feather, so like I wouldn't say it is normal. Like those are like pretty very sharp, very sharp blades. Yeah. Yes. And I think the sharpness of the blade does affect the shave. If your blade isn't sharp enough, like you're not gonna be able to get a close shave or a non-irritating shave. I felt like his face was starting to dry up a little bit because some of that shaving gel did come off whenever I took off the hot towel. So I'm gonna lather him up some more because I do not want to shave somebody that doesn't have anything on their face. And I want to make sure that the hand that I hold the razor with is completely dry. I don't want to have any kind of cream or gel or water on my hand because then my blade is going to slip out of my hand. So I need to make sure that that hand is dry. Relax the face. So right now, Randy had tightened up his chin. And if their chin is tightened up when we go over it with the blade, we're going to nick them a lot. We're going to leave a bunch of little nicks. I did it the other day. That's why I know. Okay. Now, when his chin is relaxed, you don't see a lot of the wrinkles or like the little indents. Okay. Flex your chin. It starts to create like little indentations here and there, and it's not as smooth. Okay. Go ahead and let it go. It's kind of hard for me to stretch the skin on the chin, so I'm really just pressing up against his face, and that's going to be enough to stretch. Once I get closer to the neck, I can actually stretch the skin out some more. So that's when I'll start pulling up as well. Whenever somebody's working with the razor blade and you guys are watching because you're standing next to them, be very cautious of where you step, so that way you don't accidentally bump into the chair. Because if we're like watching, our coworkers cut hair and you bump the chair when he's working with the razor, he's going to cut the person. So if you see somebody working with the razor, do not touch them and be careful when you're walking around their station. If you're watching, it's okay. It's fine to watch, but just be careful you don't bump into them whenever somebody's doing something like this. Start panicking. Call for Randy. Whenever somebody starts bleeding, um, if you don't have gloves on, you want to put some gloves on, and then you want to stop the bleeding by applying a little bit of pressure with a neck strip, some kind of piece of paper or napkin or whatever. Apply pressure. Once it stops leaking, then you can go ahead and put some nick powder on there. And after you're done putting the nick powder, it's gonna stop the bleeding. Technically, you're supposed to clean it with an alcohol pad and then put a band-aid on and all this shit. But in real life, like we ain't doing all that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like some textbook shit, you know. But in real life, like I'm gonna stop the bleeding. I'm gonna put some nick relief on there, and then I'm gonna change my gloves, and then I'm gonna proceed. Okay? Because when I put the nick relief on there, I'm gonna grab the nick relief like this, and I'm gonna be put it on there when I should really be using the Q-tip so I don't touch it, right? So once I put it on there, now I just touch this blood. So now the gloves are coming off, so that way I don't put blood on all my tools as I'm working. Make sense? And I didn't start doing that till recently, so after I took the exam. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I never think about that. Should have went to school a long time ago. And before, I was cross-contaminating like a motherfucker. Everything was fucking contaminated. My whole fucking station, whole damn thing was just fucking toxic, you know, just all kinds of fucking shit on there. I could feel the face drying up a little bit. I'm gonna add a little more shaving gel to the lip. Going with the grain is a little more tedious than going against the grain. When we go against the grain, we're not really gonna have to pay attention too much to the way the hair grows because we did that already the first time around. So it's a little easier going against the grain because we don't have to pay attention to the direction that the hair is growing. Pull your lip straight down. So when I have him pull his lip down and I do the middle part, I'm gonna push his nose up, and that's gonna help stretch the skin. Okay. So now that we went with the grain, now I can go against the grain. Pop this out with your tongue. Okay. So whenever I try to get to the soul patch, which is this right here, I always have them put their tongue flat behind their lip. Because if they only put their tongue, a lot of times they make it pointy. And when I take my razor blade over that little pointy piece, I'm gonna cut them. I need it to be flat so the whole thing just comes out evenly. Put your tongue flat behind your lip, okay? And it's all gonna come out. And then when I do the top, the mustache, I just have them pull it straight down. Straight down. That's it. And a lot of people, they don't know how to do that, so you have to show them. Simple. When I'm using the razor blade, but when I'm lining it up with the trimmer, no, because it's gonna alter the line and I'm not gonna understand. Yes, yeah, you want it just to be like regular when you're making the lines with the trimmers, and then when you go to use the razor blade, then you can like have them pull down or put some air and like stretch the skin, because you're already gonna have your line and it's already gonna be marked perfectly and it's gonna be where you want it to be. Now you're just gonna trace and you're not creating any lines, you know.
I had to try to do that over with the razor with them just black.
Oh, and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It pulls the hair a lot.
That and I can't get in the blade in there at the right
angle. You're not cutting the hair?
I just can't get it in at the right angle.
Okay.
Yeah.
You struggle.
That was my fault. I cut somebody.
Yeah. But whenever it's a lot easier to make the line.
I'm talking about this area, just the mustache.
Oh, the mustache.
Yeah,
okay.
the nose being in the way.
Yeah, this helps. And then also this, or like doing this, and then doing this. So if I'm gonna do this side of the mustache, I'm pushing this way. If I'm putting my blade over here, I'm pushing this way. If I'm doing the middle, I'm pushing up. Sorry if I have any boogers, but see if you didn't even see my nose clean. Everybody looking up my nose. Got some mocos in there probably.
Put it down. Put it down.
I really want to go against the grain on your mustache, but you don't let me.
Your mustache?
Yeah, you down? So I'm about to experiment on Randy right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go against the grain on the mustache just because I really want to make it bald as possible everywhere I can. And I feel like the blade is not gonna let me down because it hasn't let me down since. And everywhere I shave against the grain, it works out just fine. So hopefully that happens when I do his mustache. Hopefully. Yes.
Yeah.
Try this on. Try this on your classmates and on your buddies.
Yeah.
But not on a customer. And whenever I am experimenting, that's when I do it. I do it on the homeboys. I do it on my coworkers. I do it on like my little brother. My little brother, I do a hella crazy shit on him, But I'm not gonna do it on a paying customer. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna pick and choose when to like try things. Once I got to a certain level of like quality of work and like pretty much like nowadays, like now I can experiment on my customers like I did with my DFS stuff. Like when I learned my DFS stuff, like not even a year ago, I just started doing it on everybody. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And it worked out, and I was able to correct little things that I needed to, but until you get really good, I wouldn't experiment on customers. I would just do it on people that you know. Not even a year ago. Not even.
Like 9 2 months ago?
Yeah. And I changed my cutting method, my process to hot. Yeah, we didn't even start talking about it right away, right?
Whenever I started off, like that's when you were introducing, you were talking like everything that's just over here.
Oh, that we were gonna do it. Talking about going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like how to do it and how to do it.
Yep. And the reason why I'm mentioning that, like, I just started doing it now, and I changed my method, is because like I've been cutting hair for 10, 12 years, and just and now like I'm just completely switching up like 50% of my method, okay? Because the other 50% is a clipper work, other 50% is a scissor work, and I'm telling you guys that so that you guys don't ever like get like closed-minded, or you guys don't ever get to the point where you feel like you already know it all and like you can't tell me shit. Because if I had that mindset, I would have never learned the DFS formula 12, 11 years into my career, and I would have never made the change, and I would have never had my shear cuts or my scissor work looking the way it does now. And my scissor work is a whole lot better than it was last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and so on. Okay, so always remaining a student, being a forever student. Somebody call me. Being a forever student is something that you guys need to like keep with you and hold on to that shit tight, and don't ever forget that, because the moment that you forget that is the moment that your career is just gonna start to flatline, and you're just gonna start to just be like right here. You're not gonna see no more progress no more. Okay, yeah, you're gonna stay in the same spot that you're at. If you're making 1,000 or 1,500 a week, you're gonna stay right there for a very long time, my friend. But if you keep that mentality of being a student forever, you're only gonna keep growing. You're only gonna keep on making more money. You're only gonna keep on getting more clientele. Yeah, like sometimes it feels like we're like kind of like this, but eventually we end up going up again, and then we might feel like we do this again, and then we go up again. But we're gonna keep on going up, even though there's little periods of time where we feel like we're just staying flat, and it's okay because we keep working, 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 and eventually all that shit is gonna bring us up. Okay, but I really do feel like being a forever student is like what helps out a lot if you want to keep on getting better. If you don't want to get better and you're good with making 1,000 a week and you don't want any more than that, keep doing what you're doing and don't change anything. But if you want to keep making more, you got to keep changing. You got to keep learning. You got to keep upgrading our tools, upgrading our service. Looking the part as well. Definitely, definitely. Because I know for me, like I know I don't make like a crazy amount of money. I feel like I'm just getting started. Like I really don't feel like I make a lot of money because like my lady doesn't work and I have to like pay for everything. So like if you basically like in my household, if you did the math and we split my income in half, like I'm really only making about like 60. You feel me? Because I got to make up for what my lady is not bringing in. So like really, I don't feel like I'm doing much. You know what I'm saying? And it could be even more. I'd like to be able to make like a 250,000 a year at least. That's what I want to be at. Like I feel like I would be comfortable at about a 250,000 a year. Right now, I feel like I'm not where I want to be. All right, so now we're gonna go against the grain, and I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up. Because if I want to just go straight for the cheek, when I start stretching the skin down here below the cheek area, my fingers are just gonna slide because I have all this shaving gel right here. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up, and as I'm going up, all this shaving gel is gonna be going away. Okay.